Hey you guys, what is up? It has been forever since I've uploaded anything. I told you I was going away, but I did hit 200 subscribers while I was away, so I have a special for you. This is using the 2004 World Championship decks. It's a blast from the past. I am on the left playing the Blaziken Tech deck, Chris Fulop built for the 2004 World Championships, and my friend Josh is on the right playing Yamato's Blaziken, or Magma Spirit deck, I guess is what he called it. Anyways, I'm going to mulligan here. He does make a slight procedural error with drawing his card first, but, it's not really a big deal. I trust Josh. He's, a super honest guy, so he's going to end up leading off with that Groudon. But these decks are really fun, and I'll try and explain what the cards do as we go along, but it'll kind of be hard to, so you're probably going to have to look some stuff up, just if you really want to be able to follow what's going on in this game. So anyways, we see that I do hit the basic. I hit a Dunsparce and a Torchic, which is a great lead, especially with the rare candy in hand that we saw. And I get to go first, I believe. And, with that Dunsparce lead, that's a pretty strong one. I'm going to attach a Fire Energy to Dunsparce, and I'm going to use a Professor Helm's training method. And you're going to see I'm going to search out a Delcatty. Delcatty's a card that's for your draw engine. It lets you discard an energy and draw 3 cards from your deck. And after that, I'm just going to use my Dunsparce's Strike and Run. It's an attack that's kind of like Collector. You get to search your deck for 3 basics. You can also switch your Dunsparce with one of your bench Pokemon, but I elect not to do that. And I grab out the Skitty, an Electrike, and an Oddish. Oddish will evolve into Blossom, which can heal 2 damage counters per turn, kind of like the one we have in format now, just a little different. And Electrike evolves into that Magnetric, Team Magma's Magnetric that lets you move energy. Anyways, we see Josh opens with the Groudon, which is a good starter for him. He's going to attach the Special Dark, and that Groudon is both a fighting and a dark Pokemon, so it does abuse the Special Dark. And he's also got the Numel on his bench, which is just, a really nice card in terms of Camerupt. Its evolved form kind of has a Dynamotor-like ability, but it involves damage counters. He's going to have to pass, though, and I'm going to Rare Candy into Blaziken, evolve into Delcatty as well, and discard 3 energy, or discard a Fire Energy from my hand, which I instantly Fire Starter to my hand, which is Blaziken's ability. It's basically Dynamotor. And I also attach the energy to him. I believe those are multi-energies. It's a special energy. It's kind of like, I guess, Prism is sort of now, but for any Pokemon. And I end up attacking with Strike and Run to just grab out a single basic since my bench is full. And it's just another Torchic. So he's going to be able to attach the Rainbow Energy, which is bad news for me that he can attack this early. I was kind of hoping maybe he wouldn't, and I did have to choose between either Strike and Run or my using Strike and Run or his attack. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's basically 10 damage and a paralysis flip. It's killing me that I can't remember that. But he decides to reversal, which is interesting. Because he had the KO on Dunsparce. However, he is 10 shy of knocking out Delcatty, so that becomes a little favorable. And he's just going to copycat. He plays down a Stadium card. It's Desert Ruins, which does 10 damage to EX Pokemon between turns, which is going to put pressure on me. It's going to be difficult for me to play the Blaziken EX as I run in this deck. However, this deck runs a 4-2 3-2 line, 4-2, the 4-2 being the Torchic and Combuskin, the 3 being the regular Blazikens, and the 2 being the EXs. So I do have some attacking options in those Blazikens that aren't EXs. As you can see, I knock a Torchic off the table, but I'm going to use my Pokemon Nurse, which is a supporter that's the equivalent of Max Potion, and by doing that, I basically negate his last turn and prevent him from using his first attack. I believe it's Trample, something like that. But basically, or maybe, no, it's Linear Attack. I'm sorry. That's the new one that is Tromp. My bad, I was confusing myself. But he could have sniped for 20 and knocked me out next turn. However, I am able to basically get the 3rd energy in the discard and then Fire Starter it after attaching. And I'm going to use Fire Stream, which does 50 damage and 10 spread if I elect to discard the energy. So now I'm put in a really good position that I've basically put more damage on his board. I don't have any damage on my board, in fact. So, he kind of doesn't have the speed element of the Groudon deck, which really hurts him because once this deck sets up, which it's getting pretty close to doing, it's really hard for Josh to keep up, especially given the fact that he hasn't gotten his Claydol out, which lets him move his energies from the Camerupt when it energy accelerates itself. He does bench the ball toy though, and he's definitely not out of it. Really good player, and that is a really fantastic deck he's playing. So we'll see. It'd be really good for him to get energy and put 60 damage on me this turn. He drops the Magma energy to do so, which suggests to me that he really doesn't have too much going for him in his hand right now. I think he copycatted for a pretty small number of cards. Anyways, it looks like I don't have anything in terms of supporters I can play. It doesn't look like I have the Stevens. Oh, I do have the Stevens advice. So I decided to play that, and I only get 3 off of it, which is kind of disappointing. But one of them is a Fire Energy, which I'm probably not going to be able to play because I'm going to have to attach it to my Blaziken, which I do, in order to attack with it, which, isn't too big of a deal. I'm not in too much of a rush now that I, pretty much have the knockout. I'm going to Friend Ball his Camerupt, which lets me select one of his Pokemon, pick a Pokemon that's the same color. I just grab out a Combuskin, just to make sure, I'm going to have these evolutions and be able to stream my Blazikens. Should he knock this one out, which he definitely has potential to do in the next few turns. So now that I've done that, I've played my supporter. I'm just gonna Fire Stream here because that's the prize. But I'm I'm deciding whether or not to discard. I don't feel confident enough in getting out the Magnetric and being able to keep the energy on my Blaziken. I feel like it's not really worth it. I'm also having trouble playing the Stevens Advice. As you can see, Stevens Advice is a supporter that lets you draw cards equal to the number of Pokemon your opponent has in play, but you can't play it if you have more than 7 cards in your hand. And you're going to see that in this game, and then another game that was actually off camera, or rather, we didn't finish recording, camera cut out. I really had trouble dropping to enough cards to Stevens Advice, and Josh is just going to use Magma Conspirator to search his deck for 2 basic Pokemon and energy, and he's going to grab out the Boltoy and a Fighting Energy, which means he's probably sacking his active Boltoy just to grab an energy attachment turn attachment, and he does do that to his Groudon. So, being forced to do that, he's going to try and reversal me, and he does hit it, which is, nice for him, but at the same time, I feel like the reversal here isn't that fantastic, because all my Pokemon have a 1 retreat cost. He's really got to bank on the fact that I probably don't have or I might not have the energy in hand. And that just gives me the opportunity, however, to Fire Starter to a bench Pokemon. I could have done it to my Blaziken, which would have been nice because then I could have discarded and still had another turn to do the spread. However, it looks like the spread isn't going to matter too much here. And I also have the switch in my hand, so I'm just going to switch out to the Blaziken. And I'm going to Oracle. And this is definitely going to be a misplay on my part how I do this. I grab the Magnetric, which is good. And then I also grab the Stevens Advice, I believe, which is a misplay because I wasn't counting the number of cards in my hand. But it turns out I was confident I would have the right amount of cards in my hand, but I forget that I'm going to be taking a prize and adding an extra card to my hand that way. So I'm going to be at 8 cards after this, and I'm not going to be able to Stevens Advice. Rather unfortunate that I wasn't thinking that way. And, it hurts. The Magnetric would have been nice to get out. Also, I could have gotten out another Blaziken. I probably should have been thinking about that. But Josh is just going to attach, and he's just forced to linear attack me, which is very fortunate for me. If he had the second attack, I can't remember the name of it, which is terrible. I want to say it's the Stomp or something like that. One of those, something to that effect. But if he could have pulverized me, he would have had knockout for sure. It does 50 plus 20 more if you already have 2 damage counters on you, kind of similar to the Groudon EX we have now, a little bit, you know, in that sense. But he doesn't have KO, so I'm going to be able to Fire Starter again to my Combusken, and then I use Town Volunteers just to try and drop more cards out of my hand. However, when I do this, I forget that I make it so that the Magnetric is no longer the top card on my deck, and I realize that halfway through shuffling. So a little unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Josh, however, is going to be able to bench the Zangoose and just linear attack me again. Unfortunately, didn't have the energy, and he is straight in top deck mode right now. And I am feeling bold enough to retreat, and it's because, it's not bold enough actually, it's because I discarded the energy that I no longer have the energy to actually attack. This is another big misplay I make on my part, and really I'm only able to live through these misplays by getting that really great start with Dunsparce in the turn 2 Blaziken and Delcatty. I, however, am able to paralyze him with my Sudden Flash. That's the name of Dunsparce's attack if I couldn't remember it earlier, which is nice, and I put 10 more damage on the board. And that'll, you know, buying that extra turn is a big deal. I do get the second Blaziken out, which is nice, and I don't seem to have any fire energy because of the Town Volunteers, and it looks like I still have 8 cards in my hand, which means I can't use the Steven's Advice I have in my hand. But so I just go for the other Sudden Flash and keep him paralyzed, which is nice, but in the end I don't really think that is doing all that much for me. I am, however, 10 away from KO on the bench Blaziken, so preventing linear attacks is going to be big, and if he has the energy drop, he could also just knock out the Dunsparce. But for the time being, it doesn't really look like there's much Josh can do with a paralyzed Groudon. He has a couple of cards that could prevent this. Mr. Briny is one of them. It lets you basically, kind of is like Super Scoop Up, or when you hit heads, you just return 1 card and all cards attached to it to your hand. And so he promotes Zangoose and attaches to Groudon and passes. So now we see that the cards are really building up in my hand. At this point, I just kind of, you know, say screw it, and I decide to copycat for 2, hoping that I can hit the Steven's Advice for next turn. Because at that point, I had failed to play a card for 1 turn, meaning that I had already gone up to 9 cards in my hand, knowing that I can only play 1 supporter per turn. The deck doesn't run many trainers, my bench is already full, just all these factors. It's going to be near impossible for me to drop back down to 7 or less. So I just decided that it was the best idea to copycat at the time. I stand by the play now just because, you know, it's really difficult to get those low card hands with this deck some of the time. I go for another Sudden Flash, but fortunately, or unfortunately rather, I miss the heads, and he's going to be able to search out a basic, another Groudon, using his Call for Family. We see that I have another copycat in my hand, and I play it to try and copycat for 2 cards. Pretty measly, but you know, there's not too much else I can do. And at this point, I'm really just trying to hit the Magnetric. I actually hit 2 Steven's Advices, though, which is really nice, especially after the Call for Family. And I Sudden Flash again, and once again whiff on the paralysis. Now, however, things start to get interesting as Josh gets out the Claydol. He also, I believe, it looks like he has the Magma energy. And he's going to be able to move that back, and after the discard, and he decides to Magma Energy and KO my Dunsparce, which I don't think I like as a play. He did have the KO on the benched Blaziken. However, I'm going to Steven's Advice for 2 Fire Rare Candy and a Copycat and another Fire Energy, it looks like. I'm going to discard the fire energy. And here I hit Blaziken, Blossom, and something else. So I'm going to Candy into Blossom because that's the only way to get Blossom out. And I instantly heal to prevent the KO next turn with the Snipe. I retreat from my Electrike, and I instantly Firestarter to it. And I'm just going to Firestarter again to my, or not Firestarter, Firestream, and discard the fire. I do this knowing that I have a bunch of fire energy in my hand. I think I have 2 and a Steven's Advice, so I'm really confident that I can have the fire energy in hand because I already have 2. And that with the Steven's Advice and then the energy draw, I can probably actually hit the main Nectric, so I can kind of just recycle my energy onto my active again. Josh, however, is going to copycat my hand. And it's kind of surprising the low number of basic energy he has in play. He also can't use his camera-up's power here, because if he does, he will bring himself up to 7 damage counters, which will put him within KO range of the Firestream. So he's just gonna have to attack and not, try and build up energy on the board using camera-up, which is unfortunate for him. I'm gonna energy draw, and we see at this point it looks like I'm still whiffing on the main Nectric, but I do get out another Combustion, which is nice. Just building up those, regular Blazikens for Firestream. I actually take back a play in terms of where I attach. I should needing to attach the active, and I once again use my healing on my bench Blaziken, it looks like, and I'm just going to Firestream for another prize card. So as Josh promotes this Groudon, I'm feeling pretty confident. I've got almost a perfect setup. The only thing I'm missing really right now is the main Nectric. I'm also, pretty strongly ahead on prizes at this point in time. And I've kind of backed him into a corner. He only has 2 attackers out and no energy on the field. And he can't use his camera-up's Poke Power right now because it would knock it out instantly, putting the 2 damage counters on it. So I've put pressure on the field. I'm actually looking at it if I could find a way to attack his Zangoose and Claydol. If I knock both of those out, I could actually win in 2 turns. However, this deck doesn't run any reversals because the Volcanic Ash attack of Blaziken EX is a 100 snipe attack, and if you run 100 snipe attacking main attacker, you don't really need reversal as much in your deck. However, I am unable to play that card right now just because of my circumstances with Desert Ruins being in play. So Josh is going to play a switch to get an extra energy attachment to his Groudon, hoping that he can kind of get something going there. I'm going to attach a lightning energy to my Blaziken. I'm going to Oracle. This will finally let me kind of pick whichever cards I want to get in play. Any 2. Oracle lets you pick the top 2 cards of your deck, basically. So they cut, and then you put 2 cards on top, which is really fantastic with Delcatty because you can play your supporter and then discard the energy to draw 3 cards. So you get the 2 you want and an extra card. We do see I get out the main Nectric. I believe I can also evolve into Blaziken this turn. However, I'm not sure if I do or not. I do, however, Firestarter a bunch of energy on to my main Nectric, and I do evolve into the third regular Blaziken. So I've got all 3 of those out now, which is fantastic. It's definitely the attacker of choice you use in this matchup. And I decide to heal off my active Blaziken and just Firestream for a KO and bring him in within 10 of KO on his bench camera. He's just going to Magma Ball. He's forced to grab a basic because he flips Tails. But at this point, you know, it doesn't look like it matters too much. I'm up 3 prizes. And I see some energy in hand. I see a Magma energy even. So he could, I believe, get the knockout here because I've already got 30 damage on me. Pulverize would do 70. He's going to TV Reporter and discard a Desert Ruins from his hand. And should drop the Magma energy here. Yep, there it is. And this should be pulverized for KO. So brings it down to 4-2 on prizes. I'm just going to promote the Blaziken with no damage on it. You know, seemingly the obvious choice. I'm also going to, at this point, I believe, I'm actually going to bench the Torchic, Candy, and get the Blaziken EX out, just knowing that, you know, Desert Ruins isn't going to be able to affect me that quickly in this point in the game. I've already got Blossom out to kind of counteract it, and the 100 Snipe is really going to help me out. It also gives me the KO on the active, just kind of lets me ensure that I can get KOs. It's also, you know, kind of flashy to use Blaziken EX, and it's nice to show kind of all the cards that work in a deck in a video. You know, not saying that's, you know, necessarily what I was thinking at the time. I was probably just thinking, you know, preserve Blazikens, just make sure I can keep his energy off the field as much as possible. So I use Volcanic Ash, and I then take the prize card. So it's down to 4-1 on prizes, and at this point I've pretty much won the game. There's nothing he can do really. I have KO next turn. So he'll just kind of mull through his options. He's going to play a Maxi to get out another Camerupt. And I think his goal is to take another prize here if he can, but I don't really see the way he can, aside from trying to kill my Nectric, which I believe is still weak to fighting. He goes to play a second supporter, realizes he can't. He attaches a fighting energy. He's going to move another fighting energy, and he's just going to try and linear attack. And in response to that, I have the Fire Starters and Volcanic Ash for game. So that'll be a great game. Hope you guys enjoy the 200 subscriber special. Make sure you rate, like, comment, subscribe. Do your thing if you like this video, and I will catch you guys later.